Dear SYBSC physics students, in the paper 1, that is oscillation, waves and sound, we are discussing today here chapter number 2, that is damped oscillations. Now remember, in the previous 4 sessions, we have learned the facts about ideal type of oscillator, or that is called as free undamped type of oscillations. Now, in that particular chapter, we have discussed lot many things, right from how to define an oscillator. Before that, we have gone for the different types of equilibriums. After studying this equilibrium, we have gone for different types of oscillators, their basic or fundamental characteristics of oscillators, then two SHMs, or how to define this simple harmonic motion, linear simple harmonic motion, angular simple harmonic motion. Then we have seen composition of two SHMs, and based upon that we have seen the concept of these Lissajous figures, methods to construct such type of Lissajous figures, and all its applications. So that 4 such sessions we have conducted earlier on this chapter number 1. For this chapter 2, we will be requiring at least 2 sessions. So in the first session today, we are going to discuss the different aspects of these oscillations, that is called as the damped oscillations. Now in this concern, I'll just take you to the one very interesting diagram. We have shown there are 2 such diagrams. In the first diagram, there is some mass attached to a certain spring, and that spring undergoes oscillations up and down. That this linear simple harmonic motion of the mass is shown there. See carefully this particular first diagram. There these oscillations are continuous. It doesn't stop at all. This type of oscillator is called as undamped free oscillation. So this is what your diagram, that is called as undamped free oscillations. And very important and fundamental thing we have discussed earlier in the first session is that in case of such oscillators, there is no loss of energy, or this oscillator is not supposed to lose any part of its energy, overcoming the friction or the resistive force, and therefore this type of oscillations are continuous. Energy is constant, and only energy get transformed from potential to kinetic, kinetic to potential, and this continuation of transfer of energy is there, and therefore such oscillator remains in the state of motion forever as long as it is not disturbed by anything else outside. While the second diagram, this is called as damped oscillations. So in this case, you'll find this is called as damped oscillations, and you'll find that this particular spring, once it is set in oscillations, this oscillator starts oscillating, and then this oscillation stops like this, and it finally stops. So this here, while in this earlier case we have seen this particular diagram continues forever. This is your undamped free oscillations, and this is what damped oscillations. So these two diagrams tells you the difference between these two concepts of undamped free oscillations and damped free oscillations. So this is the diagram taken directly from Wikipedia. You can see it there, and that tells you the difference between the ideal type of harmonic oscillator, simple harmonic oscillator, and the practical simple harmonic oscillator. So this is practical, that is we usually come in practice. So this is practical simple harmonic oscillator, and this is what called as ideal. So in general, on surface of earth, we do not observe this first type of oscillator there, but the second type of oscillators are very common. Now this is what the written here, the paragraph. For ideal simple harmonic motion, total energy remains constant and displacement followed a simple sine curve for infinite time, as shown in the diagram. In practice, some energy is always dissipated means lost, by a resistive or viscous process. So when this oscillator undergoes this type of oscillation, there is always some component of resistance or viscosity of the medium in which this oscillator is kept, and for that purpose this oscillator has to dissipate or lose some of its energy, overcoming this type of friction. So example, as I have given, the amplitude of freely swinging pendulum will always decay with time as energy is lost. Or the diagram which we have shown here, that the spring which is set in motion with this particular some initial energy, this spring oscillates for some time, and then finally it stops, That is what it loses all its energy in the process of friction, and that's why this oscillation completely stops. So this is what damped harmonic oscillations. Now the presence of resistance to motion means that another force is active rather than one force which we have been introduced earlier in chapter 1, which is taken as being proportional to the velocity. Frictional force acts in the direction opposite to that of the velocity. So this particular force, second force, which we are introducing here, this force is called as velocity dependent force. So try to understand, this is velocity dependent force. As this velocity of oscillator goes on increasing, this frictional force also goes on increasing in the same proportion. So it doesn't reduce or it doesn't increase. So it increases as this velocity of this oscillator increases. So that's what this process called as velocity dependent force. This is called as viscous force. This is called as resistive force. This is called as dissipative force. Several names are there, but doesn't matter. Every time, or this is also called as frictional force, and every time this particular oscillator has to spend some amount of energy overcoming this type of force. That's why it loses its energy, and finally it stops when this energy completely lost by that particular oscillator. So this is what introduction that tells you something very interesting about this. Now let's come to this mathematical part of this. So in such a damped harmonic motion, now there are two forces. In chapter 1 we had only one force, that was this. So that is called as, first force is called as a restoring force, which is given by F restoring is equal to minus kx. So as earlier we have this force this force F is directly proportional to minus x. Writing this inequality sign, we write this to be F is equal to minus kx, where this key is the force constant, and this force is very important and responsible for the continuation of this type of simple harmonic motion. So first force, or this particular force, is the helping force for these oscillations, whereas the second force, as we have discussed here, we have written there, this is called as either damping or resistive force, and this is given by F damping is equal to, here also we have this F damping. If I write here, this F damping is also proportional to velocity in the negative direction. That means if velocity is increasing, this force is increasing, but it is in the opposite direction, and that's why this velocity is given by dx upon dt2. Okay, this is given by dx upon dt, and when we replace this equality sign, we have to write certain constant, and this constant is called to be r. So minus r into dx by dt, this is taken to be the damping force. So this is the first force, this is the second force. First, this particular force helps the motion, and the second force opposes the simple harmonic motion. So these are the two facts one should understand while differentiating or while separating this chapter 1 from chapter 2. In chapter 1 there was only one force, it is helping, there was no resistive force. In chapter there are two forces, one is helping, that is minus kx, second force is opposing the motion of oscillator, that is minus r into dx by dt. So this diagram shows you here, this is one mass attached to the spring, and this particular mass is also attached to a certain piston where some liquid is kept inside, and as this spring is oscillating here, this particular mass is also working on this piston, or there in the piston there is some liquid is kept, and this particular liquid opposes this motion of this mass, and therefore the spring loses some of its amount of energy in overcoming this friction, and that's how this oscillation of this x, as it goes ahead and ahead, this oscillation goes on decreasing. So this is how that can be shown, or this is one another example which shows you, that is called as the damped harmonic oscillator. So this is an example shown there, and therefore the total force in this case, so this is what addition of these two forces, this F total is given by minus kx, and this is minus r into dx by dt, wherein we have called this to be velocity dependent force, we have called this to be displacement dependent force. This k and r are constant, so where r is the constant of proportionality and has the dimensions of force per unit velocity. So if I go for this equation here, this gives me r is equal to force divided by, this is now velocity. That's what newtons per meter per second. So that will be the unit for this, newtons per meter per second. That will be unit for measurement of this resistive constant or this damping coefficient, that is given by r is equal to F upon V, or that is force upon velocity. So it is given by units, it is newtons meter per second, and that's how this total of the forces comes to be minus kx minus r into dx upon dt. Now, as well, earlier in earlier chapter, what we have done, we can replace this F total by the Newton's law of motion, second equation, Newton's second law of motion, that is m into d square x upon dt square, and therefore this Newton's second law becomes here, this is the left hand side, m into d square x upon dt square is equal to, this is minus kx minus r into dx upon dt. Now this is the right hand side, this is left hand side. We can shift all these terms here on the right hand side, on the left hand side, and this entire thing becomes positive, and the right hand side will be simply 0. That's what we are going to do in the second slide. But this is what the diagram, second diagram, shows you. This is how this oscillation goes on decreasing. That means if this oscillator starts from one of this extreme, then this oscillation goes here. Then for the second oscillation, this goes here in such a manner that this amplitude of this oscillation is little less than what earlier it has. Then in the second oscillation, again it falls, then falls, then falls, and that is how. So this oscillation goes on dying. So this is called as decrement, or the actual amplitude of this particular motion goes on decreasing. And if we go for joining all these particular points, we will go see this particular decrement or decrease is nothing but this exponential decrease. So this amplitude of this particular motion that goes on decreasing, and that is an exponential decrease as it is shown here. So not linear or not it is anything else, it is said to be exponential decrement. So how it is to be carried out, how it is to be understood, that will be see in further slides as follows here. So the corresponding differential equation, so that is what, rearranging this earlier equation for Newton's law of motion, we get first term is m into d square x upon dt square plus r into dx by dt plus kx is equal to 0. Now this is second ordered linear differential equation having three terms. And remember, in earlier chapter we have seen we had not this term, so it was m into d square x upon dt square plus kx is equal to 0. Getting its solution is very easy because it was a standard equation. Its equation was found to be oscillatory solution, and that's what sin and cos were the solutions of that. But this time, because of this additional term r into dx by dt, solution of this equation becomes a little bit difficult. Now there is a method of solving this type of differential equation that will be see clearly in your textbook. So you can go for that method and understand, assuming that solution of this particular differential equation is x is equal to a times e raised to alpha t. Now differentiating it once, differentiating it twice, we can replace all these terms here in the first term, in the second term, in the third term, etc. And then solving this particular differential equation, there are two methods for solving this. This differential equation has a general solution of this type, which is given by x is equal to, now this journey from this to this is a long mathematical exercise you have to carry out, and this particular mathematical analysis shows you that the solution of this general solution of this differential equation is of the form e1 times e raised to minus r upon twice m plus square root of r square upon 4m square minus k upon m bracket complete and into t, plus second term is e2 times e raised to minus r upon 2m minus square root of r square upon 4m square minus k upon m into t. In the first instant, it will be difficult for you to understand how to get this particular solution, but that is a mathematical part that we are skipping here, and we are assuming that, or we are just getting solution of this differential equation, which is called as differential equation of damped harmonic motion, is of this type. Now look at this solution. This solution gives you three interesting facts. Sometimes this solution gets converted into exponential, sometimes it is oscillatory, and that depends upon two different cases. Now look into this bracket. This particular factor, it is r square upon 4m square, and this is k upon m. So this is related to restoring force, this is related to this damping force. So whether this 4 r square upon 4m square and k upon m, who is bigger, whether this first factor is bigger than second or second factor is bigger than first, depending upon that symbol in this square root bracket becomes positive or negative. If it is positive, then we can have then we can have something very interesting. If it is equal, again we will have some interesting, and if it is more than, that means this difference is negative, then again we'll have three different cases. So depending upon this factor, r square upon 4m square minus k upon m, whether it is positive or negative, there are three possible cases which are respectively called as overdamping, critical damping, and underdamping. Now out of these three processes, which process is more important for us, that can be discussed as follows. So case 1, that is shown here, if the damping force is more than this particular sign should not be there, damping force is more than this restoring force, that is what I'm writing, r square upon 4m square is minus k upon m. So this is greater than this k upon m. So if it is taken this quantity greater, then the quantity in the bracket will be positive, so square root of that will be positive. And remember, the quantity in the bracket, whatever smaller this k upon m, this r square upon 4m square, its square root will be smaller than this r upon twice m. So this is negative minus a smaller number, this is negative plus a smaller number. The total unit, this total sign of this particular quantity will be negative, and here both these are negative and negative, therefore this is also going to be negative. So e raised to minus negative number into t, this is also e raised to some minus negative number into t, therefore this is a times e raised to minus something into t plus a2 times e raised to again minus something into t. So both of these terms, so both exponential terms are negative terms, and that implies, that tells you, if these are exponential terms are like e raised to minus x and plus e raised to minus y something, both of these are exponentially decaying terms, and therefore the displacement x decreases exponentially with time. So this is not an oscillatory solution which we are looking here, and therefore such type of motion is called as, that is called as the overdamped motion, that the oscillator comes back after long time to the equilibrium position. So this first curve here, green curve, that shows you this is called as overdamping motion. In this case, this restoring force is less than damping force, and this oscillator doesn't perform simple harmonic oscillations, but it undergoes a motion where this amplitude of this oscillation goes on decreasing exponentially, which is decided by this equation here, that this x, this equation what we have decided here, written here, this equation decide this is what the path of followed by this object or this particular oscillator. In this case, this is not oscillatory, and this case is called as overdamping, so this is not useful for us. So we can give one example here, that this simple pendulum, if it is kept in thick oil and if it is given certain initial energy, you'll find that that will not undergo this type of simple harmonic motions, but initially if it is released from one of its external extreme position, it will come down to its original position very slowly, and that's what this particular amplitude will be an exponentially decreasing, and that's what the path followed by this object will be shown by this graph, which is shown here by this green. Now there are two more remaining. One is shown to be red, it is called as critical damping, that is our second case, and third is shown to be this type of oscillatory, but here these oscillations go on dying or decreasing, and that is what called as under damping motion, and this is the useful case for us. Both of these cases are not showing you these oscillations which are required in this case. So that is what case 1. Now case 2 tells you, this is what second called as critically damped motion. Critically means in such a situation, now both of these forces, damping force and restoring force, both of these forces are found to be same. Sometimes in book we can see this particular condition written as r square upon 4m square is equal to k upon m. I can cancel one of this m here, and this 4 can be taken on that side, so it becomes r square is equal to 4mk. This is also used sometimes a condition for this critically damped motion. Everything, that means for earlier case also we could have written r square greater than 4mk, that is the condition for overdamped motion. R square is equal to 4mk, or r square upon 4m square is equal to k upon m. You can either use this condition or you can use this condition, doesn't matter, you can use any of both of this. So we can, whatever simpler you feel, that you can use here. So I'm taking here r square upon 4m square is equal to k upon m. That means both of these forces are equal, and whenever this is taken here, the term in the square root bracket r square upon 4m square minus k upon m, this term becomes 0, and therefore that exponential term in earlier case, that was our first equation. This term root of r square upon 4m square minus k upon m, and this term also becomes 0 and 0, and it is a1 times e raised to minus rt upon twice m, and this is also a2 times e raised to again minus rt upon twice m. So two terms are there which will be having, and therefore the total solution, the displacement given in this case is x is going to be x is equal to a times e raised to minus rt upon 2m. And see here, earlier we had two constant, this time we have only one constant, and since this is a quadratic equation, this equation must contain two constant, and therefore this solution is not said to be a proper solution. And here we find that this term e raised to minus rt upon twice m, this is the exponentially decreasing term. So this is, since this is not containing two constant, this is said to be an improper solution. This is also doesn't give you oscillatory motion, and therefore this solution is also not acceptable. Now to make this solution oscillatory, or to make this solution containing two different constants, again much more mathematical steps we have to follow, but we are not doing all these steps here. You can refer to your textbook. All these things have been given there extensively. So the system repels. Now whenever this type of situation occurs, the system returns to steady state as quickly as possible without oscillating. That is what the difference between first and second case. In first case, to come down to its zero position or equilibrium position, it takes a longer time, whereas in the second case, in under a critically damped state, this oscillator comes to a zero state or equilibrium positions very quickly as compared to earlier case. You can feel the slope. Here slope is not that fast. Here slope is very higher slope, and therefore this oscillator comes to its equilibrium positions very quickly. And this one can give an example often desired for damping of systems such as doors. Now we can see there are several doors which are attached certain system. Now if this particular door is stretched, or if it is pulled and released, within very short time this door reaches to its original position because of that particular system attached to it. So that is an example of this type of critically damped motion. Now as I said here, the key difference between the critical damping and the over damping, that means case 1 and case 2, is that in critical damping the system returns to equilibrium in minimum amount of time. So here it takes some more time, here it takes some very less time, and that is the difference between this first case 1 and case 2. So over damped and critical damped, these two cases mathematically they arrive, practically also we come across these states, these two different types of conditions, but physically or as per our purpose, both of these conditions are not useful. We require the solution of this problem to be an oscillatory, and for that we have to switch over to the case number 3 as shown here. So that is what case 3, which is called as under damped motion. So first one is over damped, second is critically damped, and third one is under damped motion. So in this case, now damping force is restoring force. So helping force is more than this resistive force, which was not case in earlier two cases, and therefore this r square upon 4m square is less than k upon m, and therefore the quantity inside this bracket r square upon 4m square minus k upon m, that becomes negative. And whenever square root of negative quantity is calculated, it is called as complex number. So it comes to be complex I into P. And whenever we use this IP in this earlier equation, which was equation we have taken as a solution of this particular differential equation, this particular term with this complex I, that type of term here, then we come across a solution of this equation which is of the form given here. So resultant displacement is given by x is equal to, now look at this term, it is a times e raised to minus rt upon twice m, and this additional term comes because of this IP, okay, this complex IP, that is the term e raised to some plus I into p, and so again plus e raised to minus I into p. So plus I and minus I, and this gives rise to a sine or cos. So this is a sine pt plus theta and so on. So this particular term comes here when we get this case r square upon 4m square is less than k upon m. This becomes negative, this becomes complex, and because of that solution gives some sine part or cos part, and this is called as the harmonic, and therefore harmonic function, and therefore we get additional part in this solution which is sine of pt plus theta, where P is called as, now P is R square of this P is with square root of K upon M minus R square upon 4M square, that is said to be P, and that is called as angular frequency of this damped harmonic motion. Otherwise, this is going to be the solution, this part plus this part, and this is the oscillatory motion with exponentially decreasing amplitude. To have a comparison, in chapter 1 we have seen this x varies from A is equal to sine of omega t plus theta, where this function varies from plus 1 to minus 1, and this A is constant, therefore this type of constant motion is there. Whereas in this case, this amplitude is replaced by now this term A times e raised to minus RT upon 2m, where as this t increases, e raised to minus RT upon twice m, this negative number increases, and as we go for this more negative number exponential, e raised to minus larger number exponential of that, this particular terms reduces or approaches towards 0. So this term reduces exponentially as t increases, and therefore this amplitude in this stage doesn't remain constant, but it changes exponentially, and that's why this is an oscillatory part and this is a exponential part, exponentially decreasing function. So this solution is a combination of exponentially decreasing function and the sine function or trigonometric function or oscillatory function, and that's what we can see here. This is what the diagram shows you, that tells you this amplitude goes on decreasing as we have drawn in earlier diagram too, and at the same time this is controlled by this oscillatory function, and that's what the resultant path shown here is as shown by this. So this is the explanation that one gets here when we go for study of this type of underdamped motion. Underdamped motion means here oscillations are there, but every time for the oscillation this particular amplitude goes on decreasing, and this decrease in the amplitude is as shown to be exponential, which is represented by this diagram which is shown here. Now to compare the things what we have learned in chapter 1 and what we are studying in this particular chapter 2, these are these particular things. So in undamped, that means in free oscillations, this was the first part here, that was displacement we have calculated by x is equal to a times sine omega t plus phi, whereas in this case our displacement is given by x is equal to a times e raised to minus RT upon twice m into sine of pt plus theta. Now see the difference here, this amplitude is exponentially decreasing, here amplitude is constant. So amplitude in this case is a, that is constant. Amplitude in this case is a times e raised to minus RT upon 2m. Because of this term e raised to minus RT upon 2m, this is exponentially decreasing term. This amplitude also goes on decreasing exponentially as indicated by this particular graph here. Here the frequency in this case is going to be omega upon twice pi, where omega is called as angular frequency, which is given by root of k upon m, whereas in this case nu d or this damping frequency is given by p upon twice pi, exactly similar to this, but this time p is equal to root of k upon m minus this particular quantity r square upon 4m square. Okay, we have changed this sign. Now look at this, this is k upon m, that was root k upon m is equal to omega, and because of this factor r square upon 4m square, if it is subtracted from this k upon omega, every time we are going to get this p less than omega. Therefore this angular frequency in case of damped oscillation is lower or smaller than this angular frequency in case of free oscillations or undamped oscillations. So undamped oscillations angular frequency is omega, damped oscillations angular frequency is p, and because of this particular factor r square upon 4m square, how big it is, depending upon that p will be smaller than this omega. So that is one has to understand. Whenever we have this type of situation, that is called as damped harmonic motion, in this case the frequency of damped harmonic motion is always less than the frequency of the free oscillations or undamped oscillation, and that's what these are the two important characteristics of this type of motion, which is called as damped harmonic motion, that fall of the frequency reduces from omega to p, and there is a decrease of the amplitude to, actually it's an exponential decrease, and this particular concept is the basic concept or mathematical or physical difference between our oscillator in chapter 1 and oscillator in chapter 2. So that's what, to revise this things, in chapter 1 we had only one force, here we have two forces. In chapter 1 there is a constant oscillation, constant energy. Here the oscillation doesn't remain constant but goes on decreasing, and energy of the system also goes on decreasing. So these important things we have understood from this particular three cases as shown here in this concern. Now we have to go one more very important aspect of this, and that is called as logarithmic decrement. There is one such experiment we are supposed to do in the laboratory for calculating this logarithmic decrement of certain oscillator or torsional pendulum. So now how this logarithmic decrement is defined? So in the from earlier cases we have seen that this oscillation of this oscillator goes on decreasing here. So I can go here for different either E1, this is my E2, this is E3, this is A4, and this is A5. Now just go on measuring this A1, A2, A3, A4 and so on. You'll find that this particular A1 is occurred. So this total period of this oscillator is for this, from this to this is what a total time that is taken to be capital T. Now when I go from this point to this point, okay, this to this, I have traveled a distance of capital T by 2. Okay, time domain distance is capital T upon 2, and in that period I can show here, I can calculate what is this A1 and what is this A2. If both of these numbers are calculated, I can show that these numbers are given by this type of equations. I'll just give you these numbers. This A1 is given by A times e raised to minus RT upon 2m, whereas the next quantity A2, which is at a distance of T by 2 away in the time domain, this is given by again A into e raised to minus R. Now this time it is T plus capital T by 2 upon twice m. So adjusting these two, I'll get A times it is e raised to minus R into capital small t plus capital T upon this becomes a 2m. Okay, this becomes 2m or this T upon 2 divided by 2m, that is the same here. Similarly, I can go for calculation for this E3. E3 is found to be A times e raised to minus again R is there. That is now this time difference between this and this, it is again equal to capital T. So here this is added by small t plus capital T upon twice m. Therefore, we can go for calculation for A1, A2 and A3. And now just go for this particular calculation. We have to get the ratio of this A1 upon A2 successive amplitudes. If this ratio is obtained, you'll find this ratio comes to be e raised to 4t upon 2m. RT upon 4m. This ratio comes to be e raised to RT upon 4m. Same calculation if I do for this successive ratio of A2 upon A3, it is also found to be e raised to again RT upon 4m. That is how for every successive oscillations, if I go for calculation of this A1 upon A2 or A2 upon A3 or A3 upon A4, in this case, every time this calculation shows this particular successive amplitude comes to be e raised to plus RT upon 4m. And whenever this type of situation is there, now if I go for its natural log of both sides, log of this left hand side as well as log of the right hand side, I'll get lambda is equal to log of this A1 upon A2 is equal to log of A2 upon A3 is equal to log of A3 upon A4, and that gives you log. Now this log and e raised to RT upon 4m, these are complementary functions to each other. So log and exponential, this quantity comes out of this particular operation, and that shows me RT upon 4m. Look at this quantity. R is damping coefficient, T is the period of this oscillation, this is the damping coefficient, R is damping coefficient, 4 is a number constant, and m is the mass of the oscillator. For a given oscillator and this material medium in which this oscillator is kept, this damping is constant, this period of this particular motion is constant, mass of that oscillator is constant, so everything is constant, and we get a number which is called as the sum constant, and that is called as the quantity, or that is called as the logarithmic decrement. Therefore, logarithmic decrement, so the quantity RT upon 4m is constant, and this is called as the logarithmic decrement of a damped oscillator and for that particular medium. Now that is how what we define here. In this case, we have to go for this calculation. The logarithmic decrement lambda is defined as the natural log, okay, natural log to the base e, not to the base 10, okay, natural log of the ratios of the successive amplitudes of the two successive peaks. That is what we have defined this way. So logarithmic decrement is defined as the natural logarithm of ratios of the successive amplitudes like a1 upon a2, a2 upon a3, or a3 upon a4, etc. So if we go for calculation of all these things here, it is found this logarithm, there comes a constant, and that is rt upon 4m, and that is found to be a constant. Now in practice, in actually we have to do this experiment twice in the laboratory, where in one case we take one oscillator and air. So this combination is taken, one oscillator and air, and same oscillator and water. So if I use this type of material medium in case of air and in case of water, this log decrement in case of air is very small, okay, because there is less friction for this oscillator whenever it is kept in air, whereas same oscillator if it is kept in water and it is given certain oscillations, now this number appears to be larger than this one. So if it is x and this is y, y is found to be larger than this x, because in this case this oscillator has to perform such oscillations that it has to lose large amount of energy and in overcoming this friction, and therefore its log decrement is found to be more than the log decrement of air. For in our laboratory where we do this type of experiment, it is found that this log decrement for oscillator and water pair is 10 times more than the log decrement for water oscillator and the air medium. So depending upon the medium, depending upon the oscillator, its length, etc., this logarithmic decrement goes on changing. And this is one more very interesting and important characteristics of this type of motion, which is called as damped harmonic motion. So let me revise in brief what we have discussed in this particular today's discussion. We have started differentiating between the undamped simple harmonic oscillator and damped simple harmonic oscillator. We have set up the differential equation for damped harmonic oscillator by considering two forces. That solution is a complicated solution which has three different possible cases. So case one is overdamped motion, where damping force is more than restoring force, is not useful for us. Case two is the damping force is equal to the restoring force. That is called as the critically damped motion. That case is also not important or not useful, because in both the cases there are no oscillations carried out by this particular oscillator. Whereas case 3, when restoring force is more than this damping force or damping force is less than restoring force, then the equation or the displacement equation results into an oscillatory solution which contains the exponential part as an amplitude, and it contains also an oscillatory part that is given by sine of pt plus some phi or some theta. And this is what the resultant motion is, an oscillatory motion, as we have shown in the earlier slides. And this is one more interesting parameter of this type of damped harmonic motion, which is called as logarithmic decrement, that is defined this way, and it is calculated using certain mathematical terms. So here we will stop today. In the next session we will go for a remaining part of this chapter in the afternoon. Thank you for being with us for a particular session here. Thank you all.